All right, welcome everybody to back to Up to Code. Today I have Jim and JP. Jim is the owner of Nest Tiny Homes out in Utah and in San Diego, and JP is the what would you call yourself, JP? The sales, the
CSMO, Chief Sales Marketing Officer.
C yeah, Chief CSMO.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got an extra letter in there for extra special.
Yeah.
All right, but welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for so much for being here. I kind of wanted to just spend some time with you guys, and let other tiny home builders know what is going on in the industry, and let some of the marketing guys out there know that this is a growing trend. It's not going away, and it's something that we should actually like look to expand and grow on because it solves a big, massive problem in the residential market. So, without any further ado, welcome you guys. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for having us.
For sure. So I really like to start these things with more of like, tell us about your story. Like, what made you guys get into the tiny home or the ADU space in the first place?
Yeah, so I didn't even know what an ADU was probably up until 2 months before starting my business. But the way I found out about it was there was a company called Anchored Tiny Homes that was based out of Sacramento. I got connected with the owner of ATH, flew out to Sacramento, took a look at their operation, and got a fairly good understanding of how big the market in California was. ADUs had just become legal in Utah, I think only for a couple years at that point. And so, with most trends, like California is going to start out, and then all the other states are going to follow closely after them. Um, so yeah, I jumped all in with Anchor Tiny Homes. I became the first franchisee for those guys. Uh, Started an ADU business in 2022 and ran it under the Anchored umbrella for about a year and a half. They went belly up. I mean, I can get into that if you'd like me to, but yeah, it was a giant mess. So at that point in time, we basically just rebuilt the whole front end, got in touch with you. JP was hired on around that time, and yeah, it ended up being a giant blessing in disguise. So that's kind of how we got started.
For sure. Now, I know a lot about the story, but I like to kind of hear about it from the horse's mouth and kind of get into origin stories a little bit. What made you pick JP and like JP, where do you come from and like what made you excited about this opportunity as well?
Well, what made me pick JP at the time, like I had no idea what I was getting. I thought I was just getting a good sales guy. Um, when Anchored went out of business, I needed somebody like JP who could manage all that marketing, create branding, create a good logo, do all of our social media. That's all the stuff that ATH really did for us. So, yeah, I mean, he came in thinking he was going to be a sales guy and ended up being a chief of sales and marketing and running our sales teams. So that's kind of how that happened.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you that because I spent more time with JP in the beginning than I did with you, actually, Jim.
Yeah, I
And
was busy doing damage control and making sure that, we didn't go out of business like Anchor did.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, we don't need to get into the nitty gritty with with the anchored stuff, but long story short for the viewers is that there's a lot of opportunities for biz ops and setting up franchises and things like that. And the Anchored Tiny Homes was one of those opportunities. And I think at the time that they went down, it was like 80 locations. We ended up working with 12 of them. And by far and away, you guys in the Tucson locations have impressed me and my team. Like, and you guys continue to do that month in and month out with the way that you guys show up and the way that you guys handle business and the way that you guys communicate with my team as well. And
Yeah.
JP was a big part of that and setting up that relationship. So
Oh
JP,
yeah.
where did you actually learn your chops and how did you get so good at what you do?
I've been in sales for probably 30 years of my life, 45-year life in one way or another. Um, I've always been fascinated with human behavior, why people do what they do. It helps in the sales world when you can kind of see what people do before they do it, what motivates them, um, and how you can influence, not control or not manipulate, but influence decision. It's always been fascinating to me. And so it was just a skill set that I had, and I just kept leaning into it over and over and over again. But how I got in the ADU space, I've been an active real estate agent for about 5 years now, and I've been watching, the problem. And the problem is just ridiculous price increases over the last 5 years alone. It's been like 30%. It's been stupid. Like right now in Salt Lake, the median price for a home that was sold in the last 30 days was $713,000 on a 30-year
Jesus
note
God, are you
with the current,
serious?
yeah, with the current rate. That's about a $4,900 a month nut, and no, young adult is paying for that, you know.
No, no way. No
And
way.
and there are people that are like trapped in their home because they have a really good rate and they're not going to downsize, because what's going to happen is they're going to sell that house and then they're going to downsize into something smaller for a higher payment. So that's kind of put the brakes on the market in general. Um, I like kind of looking at how to solve problems from a big perspective. And I loved the concept of tiny homes and ADUs because they are genuinely solving that problem just by keeping the price point down, and solving for people who are priced out of the market, elderly who need to stay close to home, and then people who are looking for rental income. So I've been watching it for a while. And I was born in Uruguay, and in Central and South America, these are just called casitas. They're normal. It's a
Yeah.
newer concept in the United States because people are being forced into it because of price. It wasn't a choice that they made on their own.
I mean, it
But
happened to my mom too. My parents got
yeah,
divorced right around the time that that happened, and they had a nice house in San Diego, so that my parents split the money. But and my mom was like, she was like, oh, the market will go down soon. The market will go down soon. The market will go down soon. And it's
it's not.
5 years later, and she's still sitting on that money somewhere.
Yep.
She hasn't bought, and I keep talking to her about like, hey, why don't you get into a tiny home?
Yeah. Deploy the equity because as inflation keeps going up, the money that you're sitting on is actually losing more and more value. So
Yeah.
unless you
Hmm.
pull it out and build something else, you're losing. So that's kind of what attracted me. And so as I was shifting from one career being in the automotive space for almost 20 years into real estate, I saw the opportunity. I think it was a an Indeed job post that Jim made. And so I was like, you know what? Here's an opportunity to learn and get started because it's a space that I'm interested in. So that's how I jumped in. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
And
Um,
at the time I interviewed you, I think you had just come from another ADU manufacturer
Oh
that
my
was
God. Yeah,
shipping
that was
units
yeah.
out
hilarious.
of China.
Oh, there's a story here. What's going on there? I
Yeah,
haven't heard this
so
one yet.
yeah, so when I was interviewing him, he was telling me about Module. Was that the name of them?
Modular Direct, and
Modular Direct.
I was there for 1 day, and my spidey sense was going crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
In what way?
So
So there. So the concept was they were selling prefab kits out of China, and then taking your money, 50% of it up front, and then just talking around, oh yeah, sure, it's legal in your city, you'll figure it out. You can go get utilities plugged in. And it's like, no, these are lies. And then I started like hearing other phone calls. This was within, well, 1 day period.
Oh
People
my
calling
God.
in, asking where their product was, where their money was, why can't they get a hold of anyone? And I'm reading the reviews while I'm sitting there, like trying to take leads. Like I'm like, okay, I should have did this before I hired on. So I looked at the Better Business Bureau. It was an F, and looking at bad reviews, and every single one of them was the same. Where's my money? Where's my product? They won't call me. I haven't received anything. It's been a year. And I was like, you know what? This is a scam. And so I just looked at the owner and said, I'm gonna go to lunch. I'll be back. And
And you just
I
didn't come
didn't
back?
come back.
That's
yeah,
It was the
there's a
first
lot of
time in
there's a
my
lot of
life.
sketchy companies in the ADU space. I
Yeah.
think I know why, but I mean, just seems like there's a lot of shady dudes in
Yeah.
Well,
this arena.
yeah, and like now that I've been with you guys for over a year, and like we've been in this space for over a year, and I went and got my certification to become an ADU builder and all that stuff, right? This is actually further evidence that what we were doing in solar is very applicable to what you guys do in the ADU space, because we had a lot of people in solar from 2016 to 2020 that were, there was a gamut of people. There were the people that were doing custom, that were building sunwork panels, that were having a high quality service, but it was very difficult to tell what the difference between those quality workers were and those installation products were, and then the actual people that were just taking money and running. So obviously we've grown a lot over the past year, but like a year ago when we first got started, what were some of the bigger challenges that you guys saw as ADU builders that you guys were looking to solve when you came into the space?
Yeah. Well, I'll let JP talk about the marketing and sales side, but um I think the biggest issue with builders in general, for the ADU space, so they're residential builders, right?
Yeah.
And most residential builders don't have systems and processes in place that enable them to deliver a product in a timely manner and a high quality product to their client. Um, so I saw that as an opportunity. I come from a commercial background where things are a little bit more structured,
Mm-hmm.
um, and SOP heavy. And so I applied a lot of those same principles to the residential realm, specifically the ADU realm. Um, and it's worked fairly well. I mean, we're constantly trying to improve that. We never want to rest on our laurels, but I think that's kind of what sets us apart.
Can you
So
give us
and
an
then
example?
yeah, JP, he'll know more about the sales and marketing stuff. But
Yeah, because when I think about when I think about systems and SOPs and processes, I just think about step by steps that I can like just do myself one time, record a video on me doing those steps, and then giving it to a team. That's obviously what an SOP is. But like, how is it different from the sales and marketing side to the actual operational and the construction and the business side?
Just, I mean, just from what I've seen, so sales, you have SOPs if you're good at it, right? And the bar is pretty low in construction. From my experience, a lot of construction guys are not salespeople. They're pretty
Oh
much
yeah.
just picking the low-hanging fruit. They don't follow up. They don't, make call. If you're interested in, deploying their services, they'll talk to you, and then probably not follow up after you get you under contract and it's on their timeline. Where if you've got a sales team, they're like calling you every day, they're messaging you, they're asking what your motivations are, what your why is. They're genuinely interested in you. And when I was looking at that in the construction space, I was like, wow, this is it's gonna be fun because in retail sales, especially automotive, I mean, you're trained to do all that stuff. But
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
seemed from my perspective, construction really didn't have it. So applying all that to this space has been fun. In the Utah market, just in the last year, we're already the number one ADU builder, which I'm really proud of.
That's awesome,
The
guys.
whole yeah,
Congrats.
the whole team's been great, and yeah, we're a household name now. So if you're in Utah, you've seen the bird, you know who we are, and it's cool to see.
That's awesome, man. Congrats on that. That's good to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah.
Okay, so back when you first started, it was more about like solving the standardization and the operating procedures and just making residential more predictable, scalable, um, and accessible to the average residential market. What would you guys say is the biggest thing that you guys are trying to solve now that you guys have all those systems in place?
Uh,
scaling it,
yeah. So
just continuing to grow.
So what
yeah,
does that look like for you though?
for Jim, it's hiring 10 more people.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the sales part's gonna come first, obviously, right? Like we
Yeah,
can't just keep growing on an operations side without the sales to service all that. But
yeah,
um yeah, I mean I think we have really good processes and systems in place now. Um and we just need to continue to grow them and better them, and yeah, so we can keep scaling.
yeah.
Okay.
Every
What about
every market's challenging right now, or just in the last year. The same thing that's affecting the real estate market is what's affecting us because we're technically real estate. We're a high ticket, um, you know, sales product that is attached to land, right? It's chattel to the land. That's the fancy real estate term. So it is real estate. It just doesn't require, a license to operate in because the person already owns the land. But the biggest
Yeah.
challenges that are affecting real estate is what it's affecting us is rates being high, construction and labor being expensive. And so constantly selling the value over that challenge is the tough part. And I mean, when the rates will drop, which will a little bit, and that
I think they
typically
did
happens
already a little bit,
a
right?
little bit. That typically only happens when the market slows down. Now you have another challenge. You have a liquidity problem. So
Okay.
if the rates are down, and everyone's like, oh, great, the rates are down, but now they don't have the money to do
They
anything
don't have the
about it.
cash on hand to make up the
Yeah,
down.
so
Yeah,
so now
okay.
your problem shifts, and now you're it's still a value proposition, but you're managing fear in a different way. So
Are you guys able to overcome that right now, or
well, it hasn't
how are
happened
we
yet.
overcoming it? That's a better
Yeah, it
question.
hasn't happened yet, the switch from high rates to, low rates but low liquidity, but it is coming. I've worked in both types of markets, so I kind of know, what the value proposition is, what the word tract is for both. But it's always a challenge. I think that's what's exciting about it. It's never the same. It's always different. It keeps you on your toes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've actually done two of these other interviews before this one, and both of them said the same thing, but in very, very different ways. And the way that they're overcoming these objections and these processes and all that stuff is through the content, the marketing, and the sales process itself, and like actually taking the time to educate the consumer. What are you
Yeah.
guys doing in regards to that? Like I know what you guys are doing, but I want you guys to say it for the viewers.
Sure. So when it comes to ADUs, there is a huge education curve. So the biggest kind of disservice that Instagram and social media is doing to ADU spaces, they're showing people those Chinese ADUs for 20 to $30,000 and selling them on a dream that they can buy that, buy some land, and finally, have home ownership, which is the quote unquote American dream. But the problem is, the reality is far from that. When you understand, what it takes to make a house work, the underworkings, foundation, water, sewer, utilities, and all the governing powers around getting that approved, the numbers go dramatically up, right? So, I
Okay.
mean, the lowest entry point for a stick-built structure in a studio is, all in 130, 140 grand. So it's markedly different than what the social media is pushing. And so it's a constant or constantly educating people on what a house is, which is very strange because coming from the car business, you never have to educate someone on how a car works,
That's true. Yeah,
right?
everybody's got
You
a
don't.
general concept. They're like, I want to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, and I like this brand and I like the way it makes me feel, and it's an emotional thing. But we're having to like be quasi, I don't know, professors and teaching people like this is a house, this is what it does, this is how it works, this is what it needs, and
That's
it's like,
surprising.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
client education is huge.
yeah,
And I'll point out too, so I mean, this is going to be probably the second biggest purchase that somebody ever makes, assuming they
Yeah, in
also
their
have a
life.
home. And so it's a big risk. It's a big purchase, right? It could
mhm,
change your life substantially in a positive or a negative way. And so, we run across clients that they'll talk to us about the modular prices that they see online, or they'll get bids from local general contractors that are like $100,000, $50,000 less than our bid.
Mm-hmm.
And we've found that, even if that person doesn't end up going through with us and they end up going a different route, educating that person and explaining in detail what we're offering versus what the other person is offering so they can kind of compare apples to apples has been
Yeah.
huge. Because I mean, somebody that is new to construction doesn't really know what they don't know. They could get fucked like
yeah,
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard a lot of horror stories of a person going into contract with a builder thinking that they're getting a deal, and then halfway through the project they're just getting change order after change order after change order that they don't have the money for, but at this point they're kind of stuck with the guy, so
Yeah.
it puts them in a really really bad scary position, right?
out of all the conversations that I listened to from the leads and the system and all that stuff from all the locations, I would say that that's probably the largest conversation that should happen that oftentimes doesn't,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. We have, so my family has some property in San Diego. And a while
Hmm.
back, we were looking at getting an ADU built on it. And we didn't tell, we met with a few different companies. And we didn't tell the sales guys that we had a construction background. We just wanted to kind
Okay.
of see, what do
How'd
you
they
guys
do?
do
Yeah.
here? Yeah.
Secret shop them.
Yeah. So they would give us proposals or contracts, and it was all puffery. It was all fluff. It's like, what are you actually offering me here? What is this $400,000 gonna get me? Right? They just want to get people under contract and start taking their money. And then they'll kind of figure it out along the way,
You
which
were saying
ends up
something,
being a
Jim, the other
disaster.
day recently about like contractors not even wanting to come out to the property to do the assessment or something like that. Can you like go
Yeah,
through that? Like talk about that for a second because I found that to be shocking and like almost negligent.
yeah. So we found that some of our competition in San Diego, and successful companies, by the way. I don't know if they're getting more of their work from referrals or if they're just word of mouth. Um, but yeah, like they don't set up site visits with clients or with leads until that client has signed a contract and I believe put down some sort of a payment,
Just a
a
deposit.
small
Yeah.
payment. Um, but yeah,
That's
we thought it
crazy
was
to
wild
me.
too. I
I
had a
mean,
sales guy. So it was actually the first sales guy that I hired. We had to let him go,
uh,
but I was not aware of this for a few weeks, but the leads that we were paying for that were being sent to him, he was trying to use some sort of model similar to those companies I mentioned in San Diego, where he tried to get on a call with them and qualify them, um, get a little bit too deep on that first call, and
yeah.
he couldn't gain the trust of the potential client. They were totally put off by it, and hit our close ratio went way down for that time period because
Oh yeah.
he
Yeah.
was trying to do that.
It's so funny because the market because of technology and AI and like how people make decisions is like rapidly changing right now.
Yeah,
But that was a big reason why I got out of solar in 2020 is that the entire industry had to go online in order to survive. And we were used to 50%, 60, 70% show up rates depending on the month. And when we all went when the 27 locations had to go online, it just went down through it just hit the
yeah,
toilet.
yeah,
That being said, though, is that I do see a rise in being able to utilize that first call to build a certain amount of trust and then leverage that call to end up on the property. But you don't go from
totally
the
agree.
sales or the Zoom call and the discovery call straight to proposal.
Totally agree.
And right. And so that's the biggest difference.
Yeah,
And I'm sure that it would be different from a referral standpoint. And I know that most builders, because I launched ads back in April for outside of the Anchored family, because I worked with you guys until we had everything really ironed out and we had all our SOPs and everything done, right? But since then, I brought on about 6 or 7 more tiny home builders that aren't part of that old Anchored family. And I would say 9 out of 10 of the leads that I talk to, and there's been 500 or 600 of my own that are ADU builders across the nation at this point. 9 out of 10 of them do rely on word of mouth or lead resellers like Thumbtack or Angie's or something like that. Have you guys ever done that in any sense at all? Like Angie's List? I didn't ask you guys what you were doing before because it was like you guys had a need when I set you up.
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
No, go ahead, JP.
I'm personally against that because what it does is it takes anywhere from 2 to 5% of the copy to a lead farmhouse and gives it to
Yep.
them. And it pretty much decimates your sales team. And when you do that, you lose loyalty, you lose brand recognition, you lose referral base, you lose, everything that you kind of work for a long-term goal. Like if you're playing the long game, when you start
Yep.
deploying those companies, you pretty much gut your front end. And now you're just racing to the bottom and talking to as many people as you can, and there is like little to no relationship building.
You
So
know,
yeah, we've not done
you
it, and I don't want to do it.
And I
well,
would
actually, you
say,
kind of teed me up unintentionally for a little section here.
Yeah,
and
Um,
if I could add to that, Wayne,
for sure.
I'll say for people out there that are thinking about using a service similar to that, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
yeah,
Like I'm not a sales and marketing guy. I'm a construction guy, but I can see that marketing, SEO, creating ads, running ads, it's not an exact science. It's a lot more complicated than people realize. And it takes really smart individuals working very hard to make all that function the way it's supposed to function. And once you
Yeah.
figure it out, next month you're going to have factors that are going to change and you're going to have
yeah,
to pivot. You're constantly innovating and trying to make things better. And I've seen you guys do that too, by the way.
Yeah,
You
and
guys
well,
you
thank
guys
you
are
for
killing it.
noticing.
mhm,
But that's actually what makes JP hit on so like about getting into ADUs out of the car space and like all of the challenges. Like what you just described, Jim, is what makes marketing and technology and these systems interesting to me. I love the fact that I can walk in every single day, and even though, like, for example, this past month has been kind of ridiculous with the Facebook and the meta updates, now that we've figured it out and we've like deployed a system to take care of that Andromeda update, it's actually a better system long term, and I can see that now that I've innovated and I've gone through that process. But just to kind of like tie that together with what JP was saying, JP, everything that you mentioned is literally why I even started my company in the first place because I've experienced that disparity as a consumer and I experienced that lack or that race to the bottom as a sales rep as well. Right? So my mom and my dad before they sold their house, they needed all this work done and they're not tech savvy at all. Like I'm talking like number hunting on the keyboard, hunting peckers.
yeah,
So I actually went through I think it was Angie's List when I did this back in 2018. But I went through Angie's List and I got like 17 different calls from 17 different providers about the same job,
yep,
right? And as a consumer, that's a terrible customer experience. Okay. And then
yep,
secondly, is that as a sales rep, when I got into solar, that's how I got into solar was as a salesperson. I hated picking up the phone after we got a brand new lead and having them tell me, oh my God, you're the 10th company to call me, get lost.
yep,
And so I think that part of the reason why that particular industry is going through such a rough period and has been for several years is because terrible customer experience, because they didn't take the time to become good at ads or actually build their own ecosystem. Terrible experience in regards to sales reps, so it's high turnover rate and people just looking to cash their checks as soon as possible so that way they can make money. And then thirdly is that you don't have the branding or the trust element built into it. And because we had to go through what we went through as a society during those years, trust is at an all-time low.
yep,
And so everything that you just said and you tie into the experience as the consumer and the systems and all that stuff is the reason why we need to build an ecosystem and stay long term with our vision because if you don't you're going to end up in the same place as those guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that's
I've
actually a
never
great
talked to a contractor buddy that's had a good experience with Angie's List.
yeah.
I never have either.
Yeah.
But that
From
but
a
that whole thing it's like a mindset set shift. It's like pay for performance and like kind of like sift through the muck or set it up for yourself and take ownership and really like understand the process even if you're not the person that's operating the process, understanding it and trusting your team to put you in the best possible position to succeed. So it's a huge mindset shift.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have you guys had to go through any mindset shifts personally or professionally as a part of this process over the past year?
I'm always trying to upgrade. I'm always reading new things and learning new things. And I one big mind shift thing that I went through is using AI for anything. I was super against AI because I'm just old. And I used to just lay into my brother whenever we'd have arguments. He'd put his thoughts into AI, have AI write an epistle, and then within a second send me this paragraph. And I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking read that because you didn't write it. And this is the most inauthentic bullshit I've ever seen. Um, and so it was a mind shift for me to start using it. So we've been using it for breaking down our proposals to make them bite-sized and understandable in our email communication with clients. We've been using it, to help with some of our renders. We've been using it just on social media in terms of, having it write the text for your post through, CapCut or what have you. That's all AI powered, and we're just barely like touching it. And then on the lead kind of communication side, you've helped us, have the AI hack, be the first point of contact, set appointments, communicate with the clients, and watching that kind of unfold. And I'm like, wow, this is some futuristic, crazy shit, when you're
It's
reading
about
it.
to get crazier, brother.
Yeah, and you see clients kind of be in two camps. One of them, they're more like how I used to be, which was, I know this is the bot. Fuck you, I'm not talking to it. And then the other one going, oh, the bot's actually more efficient. It's actually, telling me what I need to know quickly, because it's just a language model. It's just pulling scripts based off of the knowledge bank.
Hmm.
And people are embracing it. And then there's kind of people in the middle where I'm like, I'm going to use it for XYZ, but I still want a human kind of connection. And I think that's the safest way to use any kind of technology is thoughtfully. You oppose it, you lose, and you embrace it too much, you lose. But somewhere in the middle, I think, is the answer.
Kind of like just like with the sales process, where we can't be
Yeah,
too much of an asshole, but we can't be
yeah.
too much of their friends. We got to be
Can't be too
somewhere right in the
nice.
middle as the
That's
trusted
right.
consultant, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Jim?
Yeah, that's a good question, Wayne. I would say the man I was in September 2022 versus now, it's almost like a different person, from everything that we've done and that I've been through. Um, but I mean, just something that's maybe a little bit more specific. Being in the commercial construction world, I had I had very set ideas on how you get work, how you get projects. And
Hmm.
my mind could not comprehend at the time that you could use tools like Instagram, Facebook, or Meta, Google Ads, to get construction projects and create a successful business. Like I wasn't even in the realm of that mindset. So um, that's been really cool to kind of be at the start of a certain niche in an
Hmm.
industry, and try to perfect that.
To
Yeah.
actually like create the market, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I actually learned a lot of the stuff that I employ for or that I deploy for you guys from a guy named Kurt Molly. Him and his brother Nick are some of the biggest assets I've ever invested into in regards to my own skill set, my own knowledge, and just like knowing how the machine works. And it's about really like building what we call ethical propaganda. And if you've ever read any of those books that are about like how they propagandized the First World War and the Second World War, you can utilize it's actually the foundation for a lot of how content is created on social media today.
Yeah.
And I think that like whereas JP is more interested in like the fundamental of why people are the way that they are and like the what makes people click, I'm interested in how people interact with outside stimulus and specifically technology and how that evolves over time. To me, that's like the most interesting topic in the world because I can see how over time, like the original premise of our country was a certain way, as an example, but systems and processes have developed over time in order to make that thing, that vision better and actually changed what was supposed to be in the originally. And I think that that whole topic is super, super interesting. And it intersects with marketing in a very, very unique way where we can actually influence people's ideas and thoughts through enough exposure over an extended period of time to change their mind on what's possible. Right. And one of the things that I think is really, really important is taking people out of that, like, hey, I wasn't even aware, like, in regards to conversion, being able to make money from it, right? Being like, I wasn't even aware that I could do this with my property. I wasn't even aware that this was an option for me and my family. All the way through to like, oh, you know what? This is perfect and this is way better than what I was going to do anyways. I love that little magic spot and watching that transformation happen.
Yeah.
So, um, speaking of that transformation, like what are people asking you for right now? when it comes to like the features or what they're looking for, or like what problems are you solving for people with the ADUs?
Well, the big three that we already talked about is one, assisted living is really expensive, so keeping relatives close can save them 10 grand a month, change their quality of life, have them interact with their grandkids and live longer and be happier. Second one is, people who are priced out of the market just can't afford a $700,000, house. They can't. So building a home behind mom and pop's house to get them started. And
Mm.
then last, rental income. And that one's actually probably the most underutilized one, which is
Yeah,
interesting
it is. It gets us the
because,
least amount of leads out of all the angles we've tried over
yeah,
this year.
and I think it's an education thing because so many people have been trained to fix and flip or buy multiple properties and then pull equity out and do it again. But it's like, what would you rather do? Spend 700,000 on a $4,900 a month nut, remodel it. So now you're paying another 20% to cover the gap in the remodel. So now you're in it $850,000.
So now you got
Um,
to make a million for it to be worth it.
and now you got to rent it for $6,500 and the market is only bearing 3,800. So you're negative, right? So that model, unless the house is like really dilapidated and you're doing a legitimate fix and flip, that model of investment's kind of going away. But the one that's kind of taking its place is the ADU solution. And a lot of people just really haven't connected those two yet. Once
I
they
was going to say,
figure it
where do
out,
you where do you see it going in the next 3 to 5 years?
yeah,
That's gonna be like these
once
the two questions go together, so we can just handle it all at once.
once people figure that out, you're going to see more development. You're going to see land that was otherwise just unutilized be bought up. You're going to see cities finally loosen their regulations to allow for tiny home developments, which I'm the most excited about. And in the background, the knowledge that I want to acquire and the new skill set is development. That's kind of where I think our company is going to start going, is from individual ADUs to multiple. And to do that, you need a development arm. You need to understand it, and then you need a team that goes out and hunts and finds land, right? So
Yeah.
I can kind of,
It-
without giving away the secret sauce, that's a goal that I have for us, is to expand into that area.
yeah. And to go back to part of your question is what are people wanting?
Yeah, what do people want?
That's a big range, and it's kind of a loaded question because they might want something, but maybe the city doesn't allow it. So
Yep.
what's good about Nest tiny homes is, I call us a semi-custom builder. Like
Okay.
we're not just gonna let you design whatever you want. We're gonna kind of keep you within the lines. So we have all these different floor plans and trim packages that people can pick. Um,
Hmm.
and then we can customize it from there. So like let's say your mom, let's say you want to get an ADU for your mom and she's wheelchair bound. Well, we can take our 450 layout and we can make it ADA compliant because we're a custom builder. So,
Yeah,
we can tailor our product to whatever the city will allow and what you want. And we're pretty good at finding that balance.
cool. So I know we're just about out of time here, so I've got one more big question for you guys. Fast forward another 12 months. What's the biggest vision or goal or goals that you guys are working on now that you guys are building towards?
Yeah, so we have goals of, opening up additional locations. There's a few different cities that we've looked at, but I don't want to spoil the surprise and tell everybody. But I mean, right now we're focused on getting San Diego up and going. Our sales guys are killing it out there. But we haven't established an operations team yet or broke ground on any projects. So that's the main priority. And then, JP mentioned getting into development. We're looking at doing that. And we've also tossed around the idea of franchising. So, um, yeah, and
Where do you see the most opportunity right now if you had to pick?
if I had to pick development,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, where's
development,
that?
yep. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, people my age and younger, or even older, they can't afford homes. So there's a big part of those people that don't have a parent or a family member to build an ADU on. And so they're kind of being left out of this solution. So if we could go buy half an acre and build 10 ADUs, which at that point they'd just be considered tiny homes, not ADUs,
Yeah,
well, we're going to be able to pick up a whole nother section of the community.
for sure.
And
Yeah,
more than
I
a
mean
whole
that
nother
makes sense.
section, more than a whole nother section, if zoning would change the way we need it and we could, kind of play in that space, that would 10x our client base overnight. 9 of the 10 leads that we get are people that are wanting a place that's affordable, but they don't have the land. That's the same question over and over and over again.
And I've seen, because I've talked to companies up in Seattle. I just brought on an Oregon location the other day, and I've got both Phoenix and Tucson that we're running campaigns directly in. And all across all of those areas, there's state legislature and zoning laws and meetings and
Mhm.
all that stuff going on right now. And it's like I've already seen the end of the movie,
Yeah.
right? I see where this is going. It happened in solar. It's happening right now. Jim, you're 100% right. It all starts on the West Coast. Texas just passed laws like 3 or 4 months ago. They're just waiting on the final vote on all that stuff. And once Texas goes, then I would say that the rest of everything else goes too, because it's already
Wow.
up in the upper Northeast. Like the upper Northeast, like Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York, all that stuff. It's like mandated, like that you cannot be blocked from building an ADU if you own the property.
Yeah.
So I would say that that's like once that law in Texas passes, you'll see over the next 2 or 3 years all the other states to kind of start to follow suit. It'll just be interesting to see how each state and each municipality rolls it out. So we're definitely going to be here for it. We've restructured the entire agency to serve this space, and we're grateful for you guys for being along on that journey with us. So
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're thankful for you guys.
I think that sometimes the universe just has this way of putting people together that didn't realize that they could make magic happen. And I think that's what happened in this case. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Yep.
If you guys had to give any advice to any like ADU or tiny home builder, somebody either getting started or trying to take over their own market, what would it be if you had to start all the way over again?
I'd say you need at minimum two of the players. In a business, you typically need three. You need the operations promoter, which is a sales guy, and on the back end, you need, back of house, which is actually delivering the product. And then the
Yep.
third one is the person who handles the money, the controller. So at minimum, partner with somebody. If you have a construction background, partner with a sales and marketing person. If you're a sales and marketing person, find a construction person, because the two of you together can unlock, you know, tenfold the business that only one of you could do otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to
That
set the
doesn't just go for
second,
that doesn't just go for construction. Like part of the reason that like we have a lot of success isn't because I've got all these crazy ideas in my brain. It's because I've got Ashley over there being the Wizard of Oz,
Yeah.
executing on all that stuff. When I like Jim, you are Ashley, and JP, you are me. So it's like
Yeah. You
we
need
see
front and
that
back of house.
dynamic all the time.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I would say if you want to grow your company, if you want to scale, you're going to have to invest in sales and marketing. And I think a narrative that's pretty common, maybe just in my industry, maybe it's across a bunch of industries, is that you're going to pay some guy to run ads for you and you're going to get all this work. And it doesn't work like that. It's going to take some time. It's going to take a few months to get all that set up and figure out how to market correctly for your business, right? And so it's kind of scary when you start putting down all that money on sales and marketing, but if you
Yep.
have a good person um, to deliver on that, then you're going to be successful. So don't
Yep.
don't be afraid to make that investment
You're 100% right.
and
You actually said
invest
something to me,
carefully.
Jim. It was almost a year ago now. It was back in like I think October last year. You're like, Wayne, we got a $7 million goal. We look at this as a long-term thing. We don't want to just like set something up, spend 5 or 10 grand on it, and then call it good or make a decision on it. That $7 million is not going to come by magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, you said that. Hmm.
Gosh, yeah, sometimes I surprise myself.
You said it to me. Like I said, it was like late September, early October last year, and I was like, well. thank God we have people on the team that think like that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I hear all the time from my buddies. How much money do I need to spend in ads to get another job? It doesn't work like that. Yeah, you got to get a partner that you're invested with and work on it for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give it a year, and you'll be amazed if you just focus on one thing.
Yeah.
Give it a year,
Yeah, for sure.
right? All right. Well, I know you guys got to go, so thank you so much for spending the time.